Second part. At that point, the gorgeous hunter was already halfway to the top of the stairs to the surveillance deck. His racing footfalls didn't make a sound. It was as he took his next step that he sensed danger. Left hand on the rail, he threw himself into the air, and only Dee could have detected the attacker coming at him from behind out of thin air. A silvery arc was limned. The slash the hunter made while in midair barely missed, and the thing flew back the way it had come. "An attack drone," said the hoarse voice, seeming to issue from the handrail. "It flies at Mach 2, faster than your blade. Someone's got to be controlling it." Page break. As she headed for the surveillance center, Iriya glanced at Gathlin's corpse. It knocked the wind out of her. Gathlin was dead, and that was for certain. She knew as much from seeing the man's death throes. However, something was moving. His right hand. He was lying with his arm stretched in front of him, but his wrist was raised, and his 5 fingers were making intricate movements. Even on closer inspection, they seemed to be doing no more than tapping the floor at random. Yet to Iriya, it looked like something else. To her, they seemed to be controlling something. Page break. "Here it comes," the hoarse voice snapped. Its words were replaced by a strange slicing sound, and then Dee fell forward toward the ground like a beautiful black stone. A black shooting star followed behind him. No doubt it intended to intercept Dee in midair. However, before it could, something fell from above to cover it. Dee's left hand, detached at the wrist. Its balance upset, the drone began to decelerate from its supersonic speed. At that instant, the tip of Dee's blade shot up from below, impaling both the drone and his own hand. At the same time, Dee fell flat against the concrete. He immediately got up again and swung his sword. His left hand and the attack drone hit the floor. "You're a real tyrant," the left hand vetched. The stab wound was rapidly fading. "I go to all that trouble figuring out its speed and direction so I can land on it, and you turn me into shish kebab, without so much as a thought about all we've been through together." Perhaps the left hand was just a complainer by nature, because as Dee looked up at the surveillance center, he paid no heed to the grumbles about how cruel the world was, or how he must have a death wish. He noticed something was falling over them like rain from above. "Oil?" the left hand cried, and just then, a small flame sparked in the surveillance deck. Covered by what had become a rain of fire, Dee's body became a torch burning at thousands of degrees. Once Dee had thudded to the ground and the flames enveloping him had faded, 3 figures looked down at him from the stairs. Dampier or not, there's no way he could stand 3,000 degrees of flaming oil. At Rin Shiku's words, Meeker clung tighter to Iriya. "It's okay." That was all Iriya said. The indestructibility of Dampiers with their noble blood was quite well established. But flames burning at 3,000 degrees would char him right down to the bone. In fact, the fallen Dee wasn't moving, and oily black smoke billowed from him. "That takes him out of the way," Rin said, breathing a sigh of relief. His eyes blazed with desire as he looked at Iriya. "I've got to get you to my employer before the day is out. He's waiting in an abandoned village called Vimel, about 6 miles from here. Don't drag your feet." Iriya and Mika were still soaked in oil, and a flame danced in Rin's maw. "Got that? Let's get a move on," Iriya told Mika, turning her back to the bounty hunter and briskly heading toward the door. "Wait. Where are you going?" Rin asked, teeth bared in surprise and anger. Over her shoulder the girl replied, "You're a fool not to know what a Dampier can do." "What are you?" Suddenly, fear lanced Rin's heart and he tottered, his body bisected lengthwise. His lips, now split down the middle, trembled as he said, "A noble would have burned to death." "How?" "See? This guy's human." Before the hoarse voice had finished its reply, Rin's body opened like a folding fan, the halves arcing to either side to hit the floor. Iriya gazed intently at Dee as he sheathed his sword. She'd held Mika's face against her belly so he wouldn't look, but now she relinquished her hold on him. "Don't look," she told the boy, turning his head the other way before she continued. "You're even better than I've heard. You don't have a drop of blood on your blade. I get the impression you could slice someone open, and they might not even notice for 2 or 3 days." "You familiar with Vimel?" Dee asked flatly. Iriya somehow managed to adjust her tone, saying, "I've heard about it. I'm pretty sure it's what they call the village of those who wait." "Oh, so that's where that is," the hoarse voice suddenly said, and Iriya stared at Dee's left hand. She gave an unsettled nod. "That's right. One of the last mystery spots left on the frontier. There was a village there once, but they say no one knows what it really is." "Well, that noble mustn't value his life much if he'd pick that place for a meet-up. Probably planned on getting rid of the bounty hunters," the hoarse voice declared in a tone so crusty its face, if it had had one, would have been wearing a look of skepticism. "First Midrash, and now this one. Seems pretty stuck on you, too. Any idea why?" the hoarse voice inquired. "Nope," Iriya replied, looking Dee straight in the eye. "I'd sure like to know, too. But all that aside, what are we supposed to do about the kid?" Staring down sadly at the little boy, who was still looking the other way, she continued, "If we were to bring him back to Clemens, we'd be a good half-day late getting to the Vimel. Whoever hired these two might try a different tact. If I want to kill him, I'd better set out on time. Or would you be willing to bring the boy back to Clemens for me, Dee?" 2 pairs of eyes were trained on Mika. A few minutes later they were off. The boy had responded to the warrior woman's query with a grin that made it clear there was only one possible answer. "I'm going with you." Page break. "Well met," said the shadowy voice that flowed from the darkness. It had the ring of a man who'd known the pride and privilege of a ruler since the day he was born. The voice of a noble. So good of you to bring the woman. I shall give you your reward. Come." He was brief and to the point. The mounted figure beside Iriya rode forward. "Your attire has changed, has it not?" said the noble. "It got sliced up." The figure replied, "Remove your scarf." Even in the darkness, the noble's eyes could make out the other figure distinctly. Without a moment's hesitation, the figure pulled down the grey scarf that covered his face from the nose down. Rin Chiku was the name, was it not? The figure nodded in the depths of the darkness. There can be no mistaking the voice or the face. "Bring me the girl." A black-gloved hand seized the reins of the cyborg horse Iriya was on. The two horses started forward, as if they were harnessed together. They were in the central square of the village. The cobblestone ground 50 yards in diameter was illuminated by moonlight, and lights burned in the surrounding houses. Lights. But this was the village of those who wait. Hadn't its residents long since vanished, leaving a disturbing area where no one lived? That night, lights burned there. When they were still a good 6 feet away, the noble told them, "Right there." Both steeds halted. In the light from the houses, the gorgeous carriage drawn by a team of 4 horses stood out. Its black body was ornamented with gold, and it glittered with jewels just as Mitterhaus's carriage had. "So your partner was slain. Well, that matters not. You were pitted against a man known as D. Was he slain as well?" The source of the voice stood on the right side of the carriage. Wearing a black cape and a hat that resembled a beret, he held in his hand a walking stick topped by a gold tiger, with blazing rubies set in its eyes. The mounted figure shook his head. "Oh, you failed then. In that case you did well to make off with the girl." "At the cost of Gathlin's life," Rin's voice replied. And the caped figure shook. Unrealizing that he was laughing, Rin shifted in the saddle and asked, "Something funny?" A thread of insanity linked the two shadowy figures. He was cut off by a different voice. "What do you plan on doing with me?" Iriya inquired. All her weapons had been taken away, leaving her completely unarmed. After a brief silence, the noble replied in a surprised manner, "Do you not know? Then I suppose Mitterhaus died for nothing. I'm avenging my parents and searching for my brothers and sisters who were taken. You don't need to take me alive, do you, Count? You don't need to take me alive, do you, Viscount Aberdozan?" The golden crest that adorned the front of the carriage was reflected in Iriya's eyes. "How right you are. Had we not left you alive that night, we wouldn't need to go to all this trouble now." That damnable Langwin had to display all the compassion of a human. He alone thought to play the saint, but we would not abide that. At our insistence, it was Langwin himself who drank your blood. Drank. Two voices said the same word reflexively. One was Iriya's, the other A hoarse one, voice so low that even Viscount Epidozen's ears didn't catch it. Yes. Did you not know? Careless as it may seem, we left you there in the knowledge that, having been bitten by a noble, you would likely be disposed of by your fellow human scum. To be honest, even now I am astonished. It appears not a mark was left upon you. On hearing rumors of this, we decided to capture you. That's a lie. You're lying. Putting her left hand to her neck, Iriya murmured absent-mindedly, "No one drank my blood. I wasn't bitten by any noble. See for yourself, there isn't a mark on me." Exposing her pale throat, Iriya thrust it forward. There was a mysterious desperation on her face. Second part, end.